So we are back for yet another edition of the show that highlights all things Tobago. Let's talk Tobago. I'm Davia Chambers, and this week we're at a brand new spot in Belmar Trace Extension, Buku, KDK Villa. So I'm going to take you inside with me while we share with you our stories for this week as usual. Come along with me. So what do we have to share with you this week? Well, we'll tell you about the Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development's Street Lighting Program. We'll also share with you highlights from Community Development's World of Work program, and competitors from the Chief Secretary's T10 Blast competition receive their prizes. All these stories and more when Let's Talk Tobago returns. Stay with us.
Yo, what's up? This is yours truly Positive, and you're locked on to Let's Talk Tobago. Easy, bless.
Do you see the beautiful lights in this villa? Can you imagine what it would have been like if there were no lights? So electricity plays an important part in modern life, and street lights are important for safety and security. So through this program that you're going to learn about in our first story, communities in Tobago are being lit. Take a look.
No lights? No problem, because there's a program which falls under the Division of Settlements, Public Utilities and Rural Development called the Street Lighting and Rural Electrification Program, which aids in providing lighting to low-income households and communities. The latest community, Canaan Feeder Road Extension. The installation of 14 street lights was carried out in partnership with the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission.
We are embarking on an aggressive rural electrification and streetlight installation program. Today we are in Canaan Feeder Road, where we are installing 11 streetlights. These streetlights would bring much needed relief to the residents of this area, and after a while of being in darkness, I can safely say that you can get to their homes with some light.
But the street light will be good for us, because in the night, when we go out there to come in back, we have dark and they cut down the trees, and it was so much tree that we could not see and nobody.
The installation of the lights cost approximately $161,309. For more information, feel free to contact the division at 612-4213.
I know it sounds basic, but learning is fun. I certainly enjoy when I'm learning new things. And as you'll see in this story from Crystal George, the students who participated in Community Development's World of Work program also enjoyed learning new skills. Have a look.
How cool it is to be able to get a taste of what the working world feels like, especially in an area that your heart desires. Well, for these youngsters, they got an opportunity to do just that through the Division of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport World of Work program, which enabled them with various tools to help them to navigate the environment. At the end of the program, these participants received their certificates of participation.
The 2-week session covered training in areas such as resume writing and interview skills, public speaking and communication skills, dress code, social media management, personal and professional branding, customer service, networking and employer-employee engagement, conflict resolution and managing conflict, time management and leadership, office and dining etiquette, financial management and investment, career planning, and youth development and youth service. We would have also incorporated a new initiative we started just about 3 years ago, recognizing the need for our young persons to be exposed to a greater level of understanding and knowing about Tobago.
Participants share their experience and are also lending some encouragement to their peers.
And my experience at the World of Work program was definitely wonderful. It just changed me so much. It made me ready to accomplish my goals.
Experience in the World of Work program was amazing. I mean, I was placed in Tobago Updates, a place that I wanted to actually be a part of. I actually wanted to take my career into media, so that was really great that I had an experience like that. Everything was well planned out here at the whole of our program. The free food is amazing. I definitely recommend you guys to come out next year and apply.
And I was placed at Tobago Updates. Now the experience was very, very nice. I really liked everything they taught me. It wasn't really anything I expected, to be very honest. I had no idea about what went on in the media world and all this kind of stuff, but I learned fast and I did well in working there.
From the inception of the program in 2009, the division's mandate is to create opportunities for our young persons to thrive in today's society. I'm Crystal George for Let's Talk Tobago.
So in this story, you learn about the Office of the Chief Secretary's Summer Internship Program. And this production you're about to view was done by all three interns, Maya Alfred, Kianda Orr, and Dijano Granderson. Take a look, and we really hope you enjoy.
The OCS Summer Internship Program gave us the opportunity to have our first official job experience.
My responsibilities would vary from the assignments that were assigned to us. However, my main responsibility currently is to contact suppliers who would have registered with procurement and tell them about the new system with the OPR where they are to register online.
My biggest responsibility is to learn and observe, and just complete tasks that I'm given. So for the 2 months since I've been here, I have been a part of various projects. The biggest one was the business registrar, where we go around the island basically and we register the businesses of the island basically.
Prior to being granted our own responsibilities at the office, we the interns got the opportunity to learn new skills and enhance our knowledge in different areas of our studies.
I learned what business could be about, because most of the time what I learn in school is sciences. So I never did a business subject or anything like that, so I wasn't aware of what procurement or anything was like that. So when I came to the office and I got into what procurement really meant, I learned a lot of what happens in procuring goods and items for the entire OCS and the THM.
I got a lot of insight about what it means to do economics on a public sector level. I worked alongside people who actually study what I study, and that's probably the most important thing for me, learning from them. I learned from, he wasn't here, but I was informed a lot about Mr. Perry, who is the head statistician at the department.
We had 2 outings. We went to change all the names on the PCs in the department to make it easier to notify them, or if they have a problem on the network, we could understand who it is and where to go. I learned about the different roles in my degree. A lot of jobs I didn't know I could have done, I could do now, so it helped me, navigate a little better career-wise.
My experience when meeting the Chief Secretary, it was pretty insightful. I major in linguistics and education, and he is a fellow linguist himself. So us sharing that commonality was very intriguing and interesting to hear his thoughts as well as his experience in becoming a linguist. He was very intelligent in his delivery, and he was also pretty interested in getting to know the interns on a more personal level.
We thank all the members and staff of the Office of the Chief Secretary and by extension the Tobago House of Assembly for sharing this wonderful experience with us. Team OCS, one family, one love. I am Kianda Orr, OCS Summer Intern for Let's Talk Tobago.
So we have to take a break right now, but we'll be back with more stories. Stay with us. Let's Talk Tobago. We'll be right back. KDK Villa offers accommodation with a private pool, a terrace, and pool views. The air-conditioned accommodation is near Tobago Beach, and guests benefit from complimentary Wi-Fi and a private parking available on site. This villa is fitted with 3 bedrooms, a kitchen minibar, a flat-screen TV, a seating area, and 3 bathrooms. The teams that participated in the Chief Secretary's annual T10 Blast competition received their prizes for their very hard work. Crystal George has more in this story.
After a week of cricket excitement at the Sid Gray complex for the annual Chief Secretary's T10 Blast tournament held back in April, players were finally rewarded for their hard work. The host himself was on hand to distribute the winnings to the various teams.
Thanks to you all for participating. We had a healthy competition, a good tournament that produced some talents and that showed that we have some significant talents on the island, and we are happy that you all participated. So we wish that you take to the rest of your players our commendation, both from the Tobago House of Assembly and also from the Tobago Cricket Association.
I'm Crystal George for Let's Talk Tobago.
If you're feeling down, this story will definitely cheer you up. We'll tell you now about the Inter-American Development Bank's Chair Fair, which was hosted in partnership with the Tobago House of Assembly at the Scarborough Esplanade.
Fair is a community event. It is actually an IDB event that they are partnering with the Tobago House of Assembly to really showcase the public and private sector offerings. There were 8 thematic areas: digital transformation, health, housing, climate change. All of these areas, we just aligned them to our divisions and asked to come and showcase some of the things that they're doing in their divisions based on these thematic areas.
Chair Fair is about happiness. It's about fun. In fact, the theme of Chair Fair is fun can make a difference. The aim of it is for the IDB and our partners to come to the community and speak to citizens about the work that we do, the areas in which we work, and really have engaging interactions with them so they understand the development work that we have been doing in Trinidad and Tobago. So we have supported the construction and rehabilitation of wastewater treatment plants. We have worked with blue economy entrepreneurs. We are working with TEMA to support them in the establishment of an emergency response center. We are providing capacity building and training to various divisions of the THA. And so we have a very active engagement in Tobago. We really try to make sure that Tobago is well represented in the portfolio.
The booths are very, very informative. For example, we have somebody making oils and soaps locally. A lot of this stuff are local stuff. There's the tadco booth that have a lot of local, dasheen flour, which is really, really good.
We are one of the recipients of the Blue Economy project that IDB had last year. So we were one of the entrepreneurs who won, was about 7 of us. So my project was using seaweed, seaweed that everybody thinks is so nuisance on the beach, and converting it into usable products. So I decided it's good for your hair. So I started making shampoos and conditioners from seaweed, right? Combining it with hibiscus because they complement each other.
I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it's long overdue, and something like this should continue, probably yearly or biannually or something, but we should have more of this kind of thing to expose, especially the younger people, something like this.
I think it's a great opportunity for all these small businesses because a lot of people have businesses and we can make connections, we can help each other out, buy from each other, and get to showcase all the many talents that we have here in Tobago.
And that's a wrap for this edition of Let's Talk Tobago at KDK Villa. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to follow us on all of our social media handles. I'm Davia Chambers. On behalf of all of us at the Department of Information, do have a safe and fantastic week. We'll see you again next week from a different place, but same time.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning and welcome to Youth Wednesdays on Tobago Updates. We want to send a special good morning to all of you viewing us on our various platforms, M&E TV, Gael, Smash Radio, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, Channel 102 on Amplia. You know, it's the middle of the week and we have to give you that bit of a youthful vibe. My name is Kaylee Lewis and I am joined by
Natalia Nantis. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Natalia. Good morning, Tobago again. Natalia, how has your week been so far?
It's been going smooth. It's been going steady, and I'm happy about that. I hope that because you asked me the question, it doesn't change, honestly. But yeah, it's been going good. What about you?
Okay, my week has been good so far. You know, it's just Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday. We got through that.
Right.
It's the middle of the week. We're getting ready for Thursday, and then Friday. You know, Friday is the cool down kind of day. Yeah. Okay, but what has been happening in this space so far? This morning when I was on my way here, I saw the interim vessel. I mean, I practiced the name a couple times before I came on air, but I really can you say it?
No.
I know Miss Taylor is going to be so disappointed because I did Spanish with Miss Taylor for quite some time. I also did Spanish in sixth form, but I think, you know, I probably should have written it down or something.
Maybe later on when like we're going through everything, we could probably practice it again and we could say it for them.
Most definitely, most definitely. But in terms of your opinions or your views on this interim vessel, what do you think about it?
I think because, I mean, we have a lot of stuff that we ship back and forth between Trinidad and Tobago. So having it here, especially the fact that the Cabo Star is down right now, it will be good that we still have the transport of our goods between both islands. Yeah, so it doesn't slow down production because a lot of people will mention
there it is. Emprendedora. Okay.
Emprendedora.
Wow.
Magnificent.
Magnificent, isn't it? Okay, so aside from that, we also have Mr. Luke James Trim. He was appointed the new CARICOM ambassador for Trinidad and Tobago. And we want to send a big congratulations to Luke. You know, he was here with us at Tobago Updates on the Youth Show at one point in time. You know, a couple of weeks ago, maybe last month, Luke and I were doing the show together along with Dwayne. But he's not here right now, and I mean, he's on to better things. And we just want to congratulate him on his new appointment. I know that he's going to do an exceptional job. So, you know, before we get into the rundown and all of that, we have to head over to Tanika for news in 90 seconds.
The news in 90 seconds is brought to you by Flow, working for you on Tobago's newest fiber network.
Thank you,
Tanika and Kaylee. I am Tanika Cruikshank, and here is your news in 90 seconds for Wednesday, 13th of September, 2023. Last Monday night, around 11:15 p.m. in Signal Hill, 23-year-old resident Brad Smith, residing on Main Road, Signal Hill, was discovered with gunshot wounds across his body. Smith's brother, who was home at the time, heard the explosions, 3 loud explosions. Upon investigating, he found Brad lying on the ground, injured from apparent gunshot wounds. Brad was quickly transported to the Scarborough General Hospital, where he undergo emergency surgeries for his right leg, left hand, and stomach. The scene was visited by Inspector Bacchus from CID and members of the Divisional Task Force as part of the ongoing investigations. The MV Emprendedora embarked on its first journey to Tobago last evening. The vessel departed at 3 p.m. from Port of Spain for Tobago. However, on board the vessel were varied cargo, totaling 22 vehicles, comprising of 9 vans, 12 trucks, and 1 truck trailer. Additionally, on board the vessel, there were a 20-foot flatbed and 6 containers. The Miss Grand Trinidad and Tobago competition promoter defended the selected Melody Materano at Venezuela National amid public lashback. Stolen Productions Limited issued a statement supporting Materano's eligibility and praising her as a cultural representative. Stolen Production Limited also highlighted Trinidad's compassion towards its Venezuelan neighbor and emphasized the history of cultural exchange. They celebrated Materano's role in expressing Trinidad's diversity, called for unity, and expressed confidence in her representation at the Vietnam final. And that concludes your news in 90 seconds.
Tobago, after freeness is more speed and better TV. Get a free Samsung smartphone and free installation, plus 200 megabits per second, Paramount Plus, and more for only $299 with a select 200 plan from Flow. Visit online at discoverflow.co today.
Thank you, Tanika, for that wonderful read of the news. Okay, so Tanika would have talked a little bit about, that situation regarding the Venezuelan who is set to represent Trinidad and Tobago on an international stage. Can you all give me your perspective on that? I mean, we've been hearing a lot of chatter on social media, not social media alone, but I mean, persons in general, Trinbagonians, have been expressing how they feel that a Venezuelan is representing us on the international stage. Tell us what you think about that.
Okay, so general opinion, I think that based on the rubric that they would have had for the competition, they would have seen her being a part of the competition and being able to represent Trinidad and Tobago itself now onto the international stage. So I guess we just have to trust the judges.
Most definitely, the judge's decision is definitely final. And as you would have said, there was a rubric. I am sure there was some kind of requirement, some sort of prerequisites that they have for the person to be able to qualify for the competition. But Tanika, let's hear your take on the situation.
Well, in my opinion, I would say Trinbagonians are a lot iffy when persons come into the island and do something big, in my opinion. So, for example, a Venezuelan coming here, well, a Venezuelan national representing Trinidad and Tobago is going to cause a lot of flashback because people will feel intimidated. The Venezuelan is coming and take away their rights, taking away their nationality. Like, why can't I use a Trinidadian? So I believe everybody feeling it as they're taking it away from me, they're taking away our pride. Like, we have no Trinidadians here that could have represented us.
Definitely understand your point, Tanika. And I mean, well, we know that Tanika, she was the first runner-up for the Miss Tobago Heritage Personality. So she definitely has a lot of experience in that area. But, as we would have said before, there was a rubric, there were some prerequisites for the competition. And if the young lady met both of those, I think by rights, she deserves the opportunity. And as Natalia would have said, the judge's decision is final. So we have to trust the judgment of the judges and see what she does on the national stage.
I think also we might need to just shift our pride a little bit, because Tanika did mention we might want to have pride in a Trinbagonian national. I think we should see it as this person representing Trinidad and Tobago. So wherever she goes, I think we should just back her, given that she is waving our flag.
Most definitely. Okay, so viewers, we're going to head over to birthdays. And birthdays this morning are sponsored by KFC.
This is your birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC.
Okay, first on our list this morning, we have Jelani Seaforth, better known as
DJ
3D.
Mm-hmm. Happy birthday to Jelani. Hope you see many more. And now we have Keeve Alexander. Happy birthday to you and God's blessings going forward.
Okay, and last on our list, we have Shernell Phillips. Happy birthday going out to you, Shernell, from Tobago Update. Wishing you more life, health, and strength. And I hope that you have an exceptional day today.
Birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC.
From the experts that created the Zinger sandwich comes the KFC Crispy Barbecue Zinger.
The only one I see is you.
Cheddar cheese, crispy onions, the most delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken, and barbecue sauce. Get ready for a whole new level of flavor.
Okay, Natalia, the viewers are probably fed up of hearing me talking about this KFC zinger. But I think for my birthday, I think KFC needs to sponsor me a zinger, one of those barbecue zingers. Because up to today, I still never had it. And I really want to try it.
I really hope that even the viewers took note of that. So whoever is seeing and knows you would get you that zinger.
Oh, and I forgot we never gave you your zinger baptism. So you need to have one.
I'm awaiting it, to be quite honest, right? Okay. I won't say where I am, but I'm looking forward to the zinger. So we have a few things this morning, Kaylee, to look forward to, viewers. A few exciting things, I should say. We'll go into the first interview with Quinson Andal. He'll be telling us a little bit about the REACH project. We'll go on to an interview as well with Nikosi Phillips, who will expand more on the sewerage woes that we've been facing, right? We mentioned the Empendadora, right? So we'll be hearing a little bit about that in our interview with Nikosi Phillips today. And last but not least, interview with Dr. Ayana Siru, who will be telling us a little bit about the National Policy for HIV and AIDS consultation.
Okay, wonderful. So viewers, we have a lot in store for you this morning. Remember to stay tuned. We're going to head over to Tobago in Focus. Remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
The Division of Education, Research and Technology's Student Support Services provides a range of services all geared at the holistic development of our children, including those who require special education services. School psychologist Marian Kent dispelled the notion that special education is a place. Rather, it is about encouraging children to embrace themselves.
Special education is a range of services that's afforded to individuals or students who struggle academically, behaviorally, emotionally, socially, in fitting in and being able to perform with the reading, the math, even achieving goals.
Assistant Education Coordinator Susan Grant explained that a child with special needs or one requiring special education services are not limited to academic shortcomings. It also includes children who are creative or exceptional.
Special needs is not only what we see or the obvious. We have to talk about those who are the exception, who are brilliant and are moving ahead of our mainstream curriculum, and those who, because of circumstances, may end up needing specialized services.
Providing the best services for our children is the department's top priority and often requires collaboration with other divisions and agencies. However, the most important partnership is with the family. Ms. Kent appealed to parents and guardians to support the work of the department by becoming advocates for their children. The Division of Education, Research and Development's Student Support Services provides various services to students from early childhood to secondary school.
Good morning, Tobago, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. This is the Youth Wednesday morning show here on Tobago Updates. So our first interview this morning, we're going to be speaking with Mr. Quinton Andal, and he's going to tell us a bit about a project that he has going on currently called the REACH project. Good morning, Quinton.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Okay, so tell us about the AGLET, is it, REACH project?
Yeah, for sure. So what the REACH project essentially is our, I would like to say, our resilience and empowerment community initiative. And what that represents is an avenue for young persons like myself to find new avenues to explore entrepreneurship and various positive activity to be able to give back to our communities.
Okay, and from what I can see here, REACH is actually an acronym. Tell the viewers a bit about the breakdown of that acronym REACH.
Yeah, so it stands for the resilience, empowerment. We have action. We have the C that we leave the little mystery for now. And most importantly, the H, which is hope, which is where we hope for a better future for our environment, our communities, our nation. So it allows us to kind of find or guide in with words, I would say, that would define us.
Okay, and what was the driving force or the motivation behind you starting this initiative?
For sure. So for some time, I've actually always been very engaged in wanting to do more for my community. Unfortunately, this year would have been a year where I had to suffer a tragedy where I would have actually been circumstance where my grandparents would have had to be placed in an arson situation, unfortunately. It kind of highlights the importance of crime and the importance of kind of connecting the policy decisions to the community and bringing that to the community level. So I think these are the initiatives that would allow us to kind of connect with the community more level.
Okay, wonderful. I love that story. So in terms of the programs that are offered under the REACH program, tell us exactly how that works.
For sure. So one of the key initiatives we'll be starting as of next month would be our free and subsidized tutoring services, where we're going to be impacting a lot of young volunteers to be able to provide CSEC and keep subjects for literally a minimal cost or no cost at all to be able to kind of give access to education to everyone across the board. Secondly, what we want to also aim to do is have mentorship programs, because for like myself, being at 23, I was given the opportunity to work at some amazing companies and be able to showcase my talent. So the idea of the project is really to kind of bring that home and have young persons understand that they could reach for the stars and actually aim to do way more and explore their full potential as a future of the nation.
Okay, wonderful. And there are many programs that are geared towards the academic development or development of young persons in general. What is your competitive advantage or what makes your program different from those other programs?
I think that for me, what I'm aiming for is more about the action. What I think that a lot of times would have been the case is that it would have been a little out of touch to young persons within the community. I think that while the idea is there, it didn't translate well towards my group itself. So while there's a lot of programs even so, I think that the problem would have been that it's lack of education of these programs itself or no knowledge of this. So the idea is not to replace the existing thing, it's more to build it itself and collaborate with NGOs and governmental organizations to build that.
Okay, so in terms of collaboration and that kind of thing, how has in terms of the financing for the initiative, how has that been? Is it more volunteer donations? Is it an NGO? How does that aspect work?
So essentially, we're split into two aspects of things. So our community initiatives are driven by our foundation. This actually has been supported by Aglet Corporation for the longest while. However, we'll be opening the door to collaborators from in the next couple of months, I should say. Right now, particularly, our main focus right now is building on the existing route that other organizations have. So partnering with some NGOs, especially in a couple of months, to deliver access to education to even the migrant population who have been disenfranchised or unavailable to be able to join this national school system.
Okay, and in terms of the format of the program, is it going to be continuous or are you going to do it in cycles? How is that going to work?
Continuous. This is actually something that we want to be, as we grow as a company, we want to always have this initiative to allow that space.
Okay, and in terms of contribution, how can persons contribute? I know that you said it's going to be free or subsidized tutoring sessions. So how can persons contribute towards the cause?
So one thing we'll be launching very soon is our donations program as part of that. Additionally, just spreading the word and letting persons know about the availability of such programs to actually give a lot more persons access to it. It would be amazing just by that as well. Additionally, as time goes on, we'll be looking for that skill set and that drive. So essentially, we'll be looking for volunteers as well to help us with deliver this mandate. It's a huge mandate, but we're committed to actually getting it done.
Okay, and I know earlier on you would have spoken to the demographic in terms of CSEC students, CAPE students. You said you will also aim at accommodating the migrant population. In terms of the demographic, well, I mean, obviously you would have spoken to the demographic earlier, but you also have here college readiness and career fairs and that kind of thing. Do you all, are you targeting a specific, let's say, area, or do persons have to, well, indicate their interest, or are you all going to go to the schools and will highlight these students are the ones who are in need, or these students are the ones who will be preferred for the program? How does that work in terms of selection?
So right now for like free programs, we actually are looking with working with UNICEF on combining the list for the migrant population, etc., so that we can deliver through various NGOs through that efforts. As for general selection, we want to actually have persons express their interest that we'll be able to coordinate our physical classes and online classes as well through that. So essentially, there would be a form that's created that is available on the AGLET website, aglet.com/reach, and through that we could actually understand where most people's needs are, and then we can allocate resources to it.
Okay, and in terms of the volunteers, how qualified do they have to be? You know, in terms of like, I don't know, probably doing interviews or taking resumes. I'm not sure how the recruitment process is in terms of that, but how would that process? What would that process look like?
A bit of interview just to get some formality into understanding a bit more in their background. Additionally, we would actually be training, so we actually have some persons from the ministry who will be assisting us when it comes to curriculum development. Now, these are just volunteers from the ministry and their own personal time to ensure that we can align with the national curriculums for these fields.
Okay, wonderful. I really, you know, this is very inspiring. I really like to hear these inspiring stories. I mean, the whole motivation behind the cause and that kind of thing. This, I really must commend you for starting this initiative for young persons in the Trinidad and Tobago space. So in terms of contact information, I know you have a website, very, very informative, you know, social media, that kind of thing. Just let the viewers know how they can reach out to you, how they can contact you, whether they want to probably send one of their children, they want to donate, they want to volunteer. I mean, so many opportunities. So, you know, you could just give the viewers that kind of information.
For sure, definitely. So for contact number, you can reach me at 367-6253. Additionally, there is 284-5849. And if by email, if you want to contact us by email, that is reach@aglet.com.
Okay, Quinton, and in terms of persons that probably would have contributed already in terms of motivation, I don't know, probably finances and that kind of thing, who do you want to recognize this morning for the success so far of the REACH project?
I would personally like to just say I have to congratulate and thank my team. I would have been able to build across a team from both Trinidad and Tobago and even extending that to St. Vincent, Grenada, and now even Sierra Leone. So I'm super grateful for the young persons that are involved and actually showcasing their skills and being able to make a difference, an impactful difference to our society.
Okay, wonderful. And I love that your reach would have spanned so far. So I can imagine the networking opportunities. And I know you would have also mentioned in the little write-up on the website, the networking opportunities the young persons can experience through the REACH project. So Quinton, we just want to thank you for coming on and chatting with us this morning. Viewers, remember to contact him via his social media. He also has a website and he would have shared his contact number. If you could just share it again for the viewers one more time.
Yeah, sure. Again, that number is 367-6253.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Quinton. Viewers, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be chatting with Nikosi Phillips. So remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
So your car break down.
Oh, no, not again.
And you're worried paying a wrecker could mean a pocket breakdown too. But when you're insured with Tatil, no stress.
Yes!
A Tatil motor policy has lots of benefits that protect your pocket, like free roadside assistance. That's free 24/7 every time, as many times as you need. Tatil, where people are people. A member of the Ansa McCall Group.
Mount Pleasant Credit Union present the Edgar Davidson Bursary Awards 2023. Awards available are SEA, CSEC, and CAPE. Tertiary, technical and vocational. Your requirements are complete the application form, student's performance report, or transcript. Applicants must be a member or a member whose child wrote an exam in 2023. Forms are available via our website or can be collected at our branch office. For further information, www.mpcutobago.com, marketing at mpcutobago.com, or call us 639-8902 or 8375. Deadlines for submission 15th of September 2023.
There's a new date for Tobago Swim Fest, September 17th, 2023. Come and witness the main event, the 4-kilometer swim from Pigeon Point to Buku Point. More than $25,000 in prizes. It's a family affair, so come out from 11 a.m. on the beautiful Buku Beach. There'll be swimming races, sandcastle building, and seafood on sale. Come and enjoy a fun day at the beach. Calling swimmers from Crown Point to Charlottesville. Registration on the day.
October will never be better with Tobago Carnival fever. Okay.
decision. Come on over.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Mount Pleasant Credit Union Back to School Loan Promotion. Loans up to $15,000. Requirements: job letter and a payslip no more than 1 month old. Utility bill, copy of book list, salary deduction, 10% down payment. For self-employed persons, evidence of income and expenditure, bank statement, 12 to 18 months. Other supporting document. Promotion ends October 18. Contact us at 639-8375 or 8108 or check us out on www.mpcutobago.com or email us at loan@mpcutobago.com. Mount Pleasant Credit Union's Back to School Loan Promotion. Inner Health, number 13B, Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago, with over 25 years experience, offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
And we are back. We continue this morning with our interview with Dr. Ayana Sebro. She's the Technical Director of the NACC Secretariat. Good morning, Dr. Sebro.
Hi, good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Very excited to hear what you have to tell me about the national policy on HIV/AIDS this morning.
Happy to share. At this point in time, the National AIDS Coordinating Committee is finalizing the national policy for HIV. We're coming to Shore Park in Shore Park Complex in Tobago on the 14th. And we are going to be there between 8:30 and 2, coming to hear from Tobago how Tobago would like to comment, help us refine this national policy. The national policy, is going to be the main document to help us guide or provide governance to the whole HIV/AIDS response. It's going to give us information around prevention, treatment and care, advocacy, strategic information, as well as that whole governance and how we move forward with governance, how we do resource mobilization, human resource, all of those wonderful things that we need to end AIDS by 2030.
All right. So we know that the event takes place tomorrow at the Shore Park Complex, as you said, right? So we want to be a little bit prepared, those of us who would like to attend, given that we can, and we'll get on to that later on in the interview. But we want to discuss a little bit about the policy itself, what the policy is, what we can learn about it right now to be prepared for tomorrow's event, right? So we'll start off first with what exactly is a policy?
So a policy is a national position, essentially, in terms of how we're going to do what we want to do. So, for example, in our policy, we set out goals, and objectives for HIV/AIDS response that will guide us over the next 5 to 10 years. It will outline which will outline the roles and responsibilities of various stakeholders that we would outline in the policy. And it will help us now, for example, give us some meat around the how. So, for example, we want to prevent HIV. How do we want to prevent HIV? And who do we want to do some of the things that we outlined? So, if you go to nacc.gov.tt and you go to our events page, you will see how to register and how to download the policy. Under the areas of prevention, you will see, for example, that we talk about combination prevention, which would include education, use of medication to prevent transmission of HIV, as well as other things in terms of, for example, how we may want to look at other sub-policies that will help us. One, for example, thing that we would do in terms of prevention, or that we have been doing for years, is we have a policy that we would test all our pregnant women for HIV so that we can intervene. And because of that particular policy statement, we have seen the marked reduction in transmission of HIV to our nation's children. So those are the types of things that you will see. So the policy is really our national statement, or our national forward statement in terms of how we will end AIDS by 2030. What will we do, and what will be the things that will guide us?
All right. So we know that the NACC is in charge of this initiative. So we'd like to know who the NACC is and what is their active role in making the policy itself.
So the NACC is the National AIDS Coordinating Committee. And as the name suggests, we get involved more so with coordination than so with implementation of particular activities. So the organization supports many of the implementing agencies behind the team. We would be the team responsible for collating and supporting the Global AIDS Monitoring Report. We would be the team responsible for the development of the national policy, as well as the national strategic plan. I mean, we're here in Tobago just in July, getting some feedback in terms of what that would look like. We would also be responsible for supporting some of the collaborative behind the scene efforts. So, for example, one particular team would lead on for example, testing. As you know, a lot of testing would happen from the MOH perspective, and there would be collaborative efforts between, for example, the Ministry of Health or certain NGOs. One large collaborative effort that has been recently implemented, for example, is the National HIV Helpline, where, for example, you have several NGOs supporting the helpline to facilitate persons coming forward to access services of various agencies. So the NACC is really a coordinating agency, supporting monitoring, evaluation, resource mobilization, those types of things to help support the response and really help us as we aim to scale up the response to get to where we want to go.
All right, so thank you. So we move on to how the policy is made. How is this policy made?
Okay. So this policy has been in the process for a couple of years. So this would be an output of the first NACC in the first instance, so the first version of this policy. But so we would have had several interviews so we have that first document, but you would have had several key informant interviews, focus groups, studies, research that would have been done to inform the policy. The policy would have been refined. We have a committee that looks at social policy in government, and so that a version of the policy would have been refined by that policy. And so once we came up with this particular draft, the draft was submitted to Cabinet and it became a green paper. So what you see when you download the policy, or you see some of the elements of what is in the policy at this point in time, is a result of the contribution of many persons in Trinidad and Tobago some of our external partners as well over the years. And so this is where we are, and we're at our final stage. So Cabinet has seen the green paper. So that the fact that it's called a green paper reflects that we have submitted the document to Cabinet in the first instance. And now we're on the home stretch. So we're going back out for our last round of consultations. We're doing a review again of the situation analysis and getting feedback from all of our stakeholders across the country to try and see if we can get a last version now for the white paper. Of course, once this policy is implemented, the intention will be to continue to monitor the policy as we roll the policy out to see how we would need to update the policy to be able to better support implementation. But this policy is a reflection of many years of work and the views of several stakeholders.
Right, so Dr. Sieber, you mentioned a few times the green paper. I realized that there was a progress from draft to green paper, and now you're mentioning the white paper, right? So because it's green paper at present, that is what you have mentioned, we'd like to know what exactly is the HIV policy green paper? What is a green paper?
So the green paper really reflects policy at the point where, for example, we have submitted to Cabinet. So Cabinet has seen this green paper. So they have seen the policy, we've submitted it to government, and government has seen the policy, and so they have approved this version of the policy. But for it to move from where it is for that to the final white paper stage, we have to get wider consultation. So it's almost like an additional check to make sure that we have everything that we need to have, and we have gone out for wider consultations, and then we amalgamate or bring together all of the feedback we get on this policy and create a last draft, and that will be the white paper.
Okay. And you've mentioned as well that it has been in the making, right? Because for it to reach green paper status and now moving on to white paper, it would have meant that the NACC has been working on this policy for a while. So could you tell us how long and how was that progress for you?
So I would not have been engaged from the beginning. It would have started around 2010. As I was mentioning, the first NAC would have started working on this policy. The NAC has gone through various iterations of itself. And so the policy really has been carried and handed over. And in this version, we intend to get this policy completed and implemented in this time. So the NAC would have, in 2010, would have started working on this. They would have done situation analysis, interviews, engaged with the public, engaged with stakeholders, engaged with technical persons. We would have gotten support from USAID through PEPFAR for some of this work. We are currently getting support from the Pan American Health Organization and UNAIDS to support the finalization of this policy, as well as the new National Strategic Plan. So it's really been more than 10 years in the making.
Okay, and for this to be progressing that much, we know that it is an important policy. So before we take our break, I would like you to answer why the policy is so important. Why is the policy important?
The policy is important because it's going to help us get to where we want to go in terms of ending HIV. Or ending AIDS for Trinidad and Tobago by 2030. It's gonna give our teams the guidance that they need to move forward. So, for example, we've made a policy decision to treat everyone. We've made a policy decision to test all our pregnant women and treat all our pregnant women to prevent transmission for those who test positive. We have to make some decisions about education for our young people. We have to make some decisions about how we support vulnerable young people. And we have to determine what is the investment that we want to make. So this policy is going to help us now mitigate or prevent HIV infections. 60% of young women in Trinidad and Tobago know how to prevent HIV. That's too low. So we need to figure out what policies we need to put in place to raise that number so we can be sure that we can keep our numbers low and get to where we want to go in 2030.
All right, Dr. Sibro. So we are in the meat of the matter in terms of this policy, but we take a short break and we'll continue right after the break. Before we go, remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
But this place is boring enough. We don't even do nothing. Let me go somewhere now.
I really want some new things, yes? Then look no further. Portmore is the place for you.
Oh, really?
Yes, you can have anything that your heart desires. Take a look for yourselves. A world of endless opportunities. Feeling hungry? Go get something to eat. Books and stationeries, games, and much more. Portmore, the island's beat.
Right now, Tobagonians are just currying down to Bonaccord, right in Stobin Local Road. You know why? To come down and shop at Authentic Builders General Hardware, the only hardware store in Tobago that is giving you guys Trinidad prices. So for instance, such as steel, 1/2 inch and 5/8, $7,895. 5/8 construction ply for $260. Every single thing that you will need to do your home renovation or start your new construction, we have it right here. And to get your quotation, it's very easy. Just WhatsApp us at 272-1990 and we will do your free WhatsApp quotation for you.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
And we are back. We are at present speaking with Dr. Ayana Sibro, the Technical Director of the NACC Secretariat. She's telling us a little bit about the national policy on HIV/AIDS. So, Dr. Sibro, we were just talking about how important the policy is to the general public, to our government. So we'd like to move on to if the consultations are actually open to the public. You've mentioned that we have a big role to play. So how do we help out in this policy making?
So where, for example, if you have persons can go to the nacc.gov.tt website on the events page and register for the consultation at Shore Park tomorrow, as well as you can check out our social media pages and come tomorrow to be able to support the consultation and give us feedback in terms of what you would like to see in the policy, what decisions do we need to make, specific policy decisions for Tobago, or make sure there are particular line items in terms of how Tobago would implement or how Tobago would be supported. All of these things are important, so we would welcome anyone to the consultation tomorrow.
So do we have to be there in person? Is it a physical consultation or we can log in virtually?
It is a physical. This is a face-to-face. The last consultation we had for Tobago was virtual. We are going to have a face-to-face in Tobago. So members of the NAC will actually be in Tobago. So we have a contingent that should be there this morning, and then you have the rest of other members of the NAC who will be in there, who will be coming in later tonight to support this consultation. So this is going to be face-to-face. We will have a national virtual consultation because we do recognize that everybody doesn't like to come in person, and we have variance in our audience. But this particular consultation is face-to-face. So we invite you to come out.
So that is tomorrow at the Shore Park Cultural Complex from 8:30 to 2 p.m. Yes? So
Yes.
Okay, so the consultations, why is the public being involved so important? What is the importance of the public being involved in the consultations itself?
So it's important for the public to give input, because this is not the policy of the NAC. This is a Trinidad and Tobago policy. This is going to impact lives. So what we are asking members of the population to come forward to look at the policy, see if you see gaps. This is the time to say this is missing. You didn't consider this area. We've tried this. This doesn't work. Let's try it this other way. This is the time. In addition to which, for example, as we move forward with our HIV response, there are new things that are coming to the front that are important in terms of climate change and disaster and risk mitigation around some of those things. And what are the decisions we need to make in implementation as we think about a Twin Island state to be able to support persons who may be living with HIV. For example, we may make particular considerations around, for example, how machines might be placed, or if we're resourcing, how we might need to resource and store certain things so that people we have resources to be able to mobilize a response or be able to maintain persons on medication. We do know, for example, that people living with HIV do not necessarily access their HIV treatment where they live. So, for example, if there was the sea bridge is down and somebody accesses their medication in Trinidad, how do they get their medication in Tobago, and how is that process seamless? So, in terms of the relationships that we forge and how we support our clients at the end, because we want to make sure that we have a policy that puts people first. Those are some of the things that are important. We need to be able to hear from the public what are the things that we need to put in our policy to be able to support persons who might be living with HIV, persons who may be affected by HIV, and just general HIV prevention. So the public, we won't know unless you tell us.
So that is where we come in. We give you what the public is saying, basically. As part of the general public, we are able to tell you what's happening on the ground. So that is all important in the consultation. All right. So, for those of us who like to do our homework, right? Those of us who would like to attend the consultation tomorrow, is the policy available to the general public? And where can we find it if it is?
If you go to nacc.gov.tt on the website, right where you register, there's a link to the policy. So you will get the full policy if you go to that event website. We also, if you want to go directly to the policy and not go through the events page, we also have a documents page on the website, and it's reflected in there. So you can download the policy from the website of the National AIDS Coordinating Committee. And again, it is nacc.gov.tt, and we invite you to read policy and to see the different elements in the policy. I would have shared, for example, that the policy is split up into 5 areas: prevention, treatment, care and support, human rights and empowerment, strategic information and coordination and relationships. And that last one is a big one, because if we don't work out some of those things, some of the other things don't get done in the way that we would like them to. So please download the policy and come out tomorrow to the consultation.
Okay, and going through the policy, I took a look at the policy. There is a Vision 2030 that you've mentioned from before when we were speaking before the break. Could you tell us a little bit about that vision? What is the progress of that vision right now?
So in terms of there's Vision 2030, which is the National Vision 2030, to which all policies and all plans would align for Trinidad and Tobago, because we support that one vision for us, for Trinidad and Tobago. Within the HIV/AIDS response, our goal by 2030 is to end AIDS in the way that we know it. And what does that really mean? So at this particular point in time, we know that for persons who are living with HIV, if they are supported on medication and they take their medication properly, the possibility of transmission is negligible. So we have a significant opportunity. If we can get all the persons who are HIV positive to take medication and to take medication properly, and which this is in 2 ways. It is going to be able to impact on persons' lives, persons living with HIV being able to access medication in the first instance would be able to live a normal life and be able to continue to interact and and not be ill or anything like that in the same way as they would if there is no medication. So that is one. And then the other part of persons being on medication is the fact that our new cases of HIV will go down significantly. And so this is what we want to achieve. We want to make sure that we do not miss the opportunity to get everyone who is HIV positive, who has become HIV positive, to be on medication, and to give people access to medication almost as immediately as soon as we know it. We put you on medication so that you can have a good quality of life, as well as we can prevent disease transmission further. Where are we? At this particular point in time, we are programming for between 11 and 12,000 persons who we believe to be living with HIV in Trinidad and Tobago. We have over 7,000 people on medication and just over 6,000 persons who would have achieved that viral suppression rate or treatment success, to put it simply. We do know that for our survival rates are very good in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of our HIV/AIDS program, and so we have about 80% of our cohort we track 5 years out, so for our reports, but so our 5-year survival rates are very high. But we do note that we do have a cohort of persons that we need to support additionally for them to stay in care.
Okay. And well, you've mentioned you touched a little bit on the statistical data where you mentioned that we are curbing the way we test and stuff like that. In terms of medications and these things that are more accessible to the public now, our rates are decreasing. Could you expand a little bit more on our statistics, and we'll wrap up using this question.
Okay, so where we are at this point in time is that our rates are decreasing. We're at a point where we're almost in some groups there's a bit of a plateau in that they are holding and they're not going up and they're not going down. When we look at the overall rates, the rates have gone down in terms of the incidence for HIV. But what we do notice that when we start to split it out by age groups and by genders, we're seeing different trends for different groups. And so this is concerning, and we have to be able to, in this new plan and this new way forward, we have to make sure that as we review our data, that we can identify what is happening with each particular group, so that we can ensure that the young persons are aware, for example, of ways to prevent HIV, and that they are preventing and they're doing accessing the services to support the prevention of HIV, so that we don't see rates going up in this particular group. We also need to be aware, for example, and we are paying attention to the fact that we are seeing differences between what's happening between our men and our women in terms of the access to treatment, as well as the access to testing. So, for example, I could tell you in Tobago, the numbers that I have seen, the testing rate is more or less the same. It's not gone up, it's not gone down, it's more or less in the same area, and more women test than men test. But for the persons that test, more men are testing positive than women are testing positive in the same group. So those things are important for us to pay attention to. People do move to test, but these things are important for us to pay these things are important for us to review, so that we know how to support the population in different ways, with education as well as access to testing services and treatment.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Sebro, for that information. Thank you so much as well for joining us. I'm just going to remind our viewers on the event tomorrow at the Shore Park Cultural Complex. The event starts at 8:30 and finishes at 2 p.m. tomorrow, September 14th. right, we can go to hear more about our national policy on HIV/AIDS with Dr. Sebro and team. Yes? Thank you, Dr. Sebro, once again for joining us. And for those of us who might be interested, once again, we can find the national policy on HIV/AIDS on the nacc.tt.gov website. And just to do a little bit of homework before we actually attend the event tomorrow, right? So thank you again, Dr. Sebro.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning.
Good morning, viewers. Again, we are back and we continue on with our interviews. We have this morning with us Nikosi Phillips, political leader, who will be telling us a little bit about the sea bridge wars that we have been experiencing. Right, so good morning, Nikosi Phillips.
Good morning to you, our host, and good morning to Tobago Updates. Good morning to our listening public, Trinidad and Tobago, and everyone who's locked on this morning. Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm tired. My computers are working, phone is shut down. I have technical difficulties, but I am glad to have a backup this morning. So I have life, and I must thank God for life. Good morning.
All right. Thank you very much. So we'll go straight into it, right? So the dry spell that Tobago would have been experiencing or is experiencing as a result of the sea bridge, would you say that it was unavoidable?
Nothing is unavoidable in this Trinidad and Tobago space. The fact of the matter is that this would have given us up again how many times government has to act in the position of waiting on something to happen in order to have a backup. I think it is high time we, as government or whatever government is in power, whether in Trinidad and Tobago, we think futuristically, not just having one boat, looking at one boat shot song, what is the backup plan and what is the initiative? So I think this gives us an open eye or an eye opener as to now preparing for the future that we need more than one cargo boat and we need more fast ferries, that if anything in the event like this should happen again, we have a backup and we don't have to resort to something like what we have. And at the end of the day, we still do have a backup and we have to work with what we have until what is replaced and until the cable star is replaced.
All right. And in terms of Tobago's dependency on Trinidad being magnified as a result of the situation, could you give us your perspective on that?
It's very simple. The dependency on Trinidad clearly shows that Tobago is not ready enough for autonomy. And even though we were ready for autonomy, what is our backup plan? What is our contingent plan to have things in place? We clamor for, or the chief secretary or the team, they clamor for autonomy. But what is your backup plan for autonomy? How do you have resources in the Tobago space without being dependent on Trinidad? And this is a clear example of stating that we are not ready. And even though we were ready, what is the backup plan? And everybody only using the word autonomy. I've seen people commenting that, oh, if we had the autonomy, we had the autonomy. If you had the autonomy, what? Would you have bought your own vessels? Would you have all your own cargoes? It clearly shows that we are still dependent on goods and services from Trinidad. And the narrative that is being pushed that, oh, we want to separate from Trinidad, we want own autonomy to do this and to do that. We do not have any manufacturing companies in Trinidad and Tobago. We do not have the resources of pushing a great agricultural development, sustainability for the people of Tobago to have food to eat. We still have to get all our resources from Trinidad, and that clearly shows that the word autonomy should be put to rest until we can have an administration that is competent enough to sustain the economy and have the economy at its level where we can be non-dependent on Trinidad.
Okay, so now that we have an interim vessel, the Impendadora, my apologies for the wrong pronunciation of the word, right? Do you believe that this will provide the Tobagonians with the relief that we so desire? Because you have been mentioning autonomy. So will this provide the relief that we need?
This is just a temporary solution, and I do commend the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago and the stakeholders for having this temporary solution. I think it will provide some sort of a relief as to goods and services still coming between the inter-island services of Trinidad and Tobago. We must stop being hypocritical. We are calling, oh, we want to back up, we want something, we want something, we want something. People are suffering no goods. We do have a replacement just for now. It is not like it's going to be for 2 months or 3 months. As the Port Authority says, that the vessel is being fixed, and within 2 weeks from now or so, it should be back. Once it's approved by the relevant authorities, it should be back. So at this point in time, whatever we have that is working for us temporarily, we should accept it. And I am sure that the Port Authority will put things in place that it will be accessible for persons to bring their goods and services to Trinidad and Tobago. I think people in Tobago, some of us need to just sometimes sleep and don't say anything, because we have a solution right now. We have a temporary solution, but yet it is still not comforting. And the people who are complaining are the ones who are not even making a contribution to society. They're just blabbing on social media. So at this point in time, I don't know about the truckers if it's comfortable for them, but as a political leader who's holding a consensus of the people's different views, I think it is a solution that is temporary for now, and we have to work with what we have. At least we have a vessel to move with instead of not having anything at all to go between the inter-island ferry services.
Okay, so you mentioned the truckers, as Tobagonians moving from Tobago to Trinidad to do their business, etc., right? You have a view on how this temporary solution would affect us. But how do you think, in general, it would affect a Tobagonians thinking of central government in light of the situation?
You see, everything is politics. Any little thing happen is central government, you're blaming the PNM, you're blaming this. It's a political game. And at the end of the day, we should stop the politicking and find solutions of moving forward. What are the solutions? The solutions is we need to have a relationship, a proper relationship. This administration has to have a proper relationship with the government, central government, and the Ministry of Works. Let us now have a conversation as to, okay, good. We do need more vessels. We need a cargo vessel that will be able to work within the space of Tobago just in case something happens. We need a next vessel. Conversations is what needs to be had. And the narrative will continue to be there, and people will continue to say things are negative and stuff. But it all has to deal with communication, and it has to deal with the commitment of the government and central government, leading a commitment to having that inter-island ferry service, whether it is the fast ferries or the cargo boat, that it must be able to have an accessibility for the people of Tobago to access goods and services from Trinidad and vice versa.
Okay, so as we are wrapping up, I'm asking you a personal question. So as a Tobagonian, are you satisfied, or what would you have done differently to curb the situation?
As a Tobagonian, I am not satisfied, because anything like this is not a satisfaction at all, period. Because, as I said, we can't just wait until things happen in order to put things in place that it still doesn't make sense. But as a Tobago and as a political leader now going forward, the conversation, as I said, has to happen where things have to be put in place that this does not happen again. The Port Authority now has to have dialogue with both the Tobago House of Assembly and the government of a way moving forward. And how do we now put things in place where we can have more vessels to channel this boat seabridge going forward? And as I said, it's conversation, it's dialogue. You see, we have to put aside the politics in order to maintain the stability for our people. And if we as politicians continue to push this night, let me blame the PNM, let me blame the UNC, let me blame the PDP, it will continue to have this stupidity of narratives that are pushing out there. Oh, it's a politics thing, it's a politics thing. So as I said in closing, it's a conversation that the Tobago House of Assembly has to have with the central government and the government of Trinidad and Tobago as a way forward on putting things in place by having a new vessel. We need to have a next vessel, a cargo vessel, just in the event that this happens again, or is the next overheating, or whatever the cause may be, that we do not have a situation of waiting for goods and services from Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, thank you very much. And this actually brings us to the end of our interview. I think we as Tobagonians, we all look forward to seeing what the progress is based on our Seabridge woes, as we would have mentioned this morning. Right, so thank you, Nikosi Phillips, that is the political leader of the Unity of the People, for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me, and you all have a wonderful day, and God bless Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you. You too. All right, thank you for joining us this morning on the Youth Wednesday Tobago Update Show. We continue on this morning with Miss Candice Jackson, who will take us into GMT.
The OCS Summer Internship Program gave us the opportunity to have our first official job experience.
My responsibilities would vary from the assignments that were assigned to us. However, my main responsibility currently is to contact suppliers who would have registered with procurement and tell them about the new system with the OPR where they are to register online.
My biggest responsibility is to learn and observe, and just complete tasks that I'm given. So for the 2 months since I've been here, I have been a part of various projects. The biggest one was the business registrar, where we go around the island basically and we register the businesses of the island basically.
Prior to being granted our own responsibilities at the office, we the interns got the opportunity to learn new skills and enhance our knowledge in different areas of our studies.
I learned what business could be about because most of the time what I learn in school is sciences. So I never did a business subject or anything like that, so I wasn't aware of what procurement or anything was like that. So when I came to the office and I got into what procurement really meant, I learned a lot of what happens in procuring goods and items for the entire OCS and the THM.
I got a lot of insight about what it means to do economics on a public sector level. I worked alongside people who actually study what I study, and that's probably the most important thing for me, learning from them. I learned from, he wasn't here, but I was informed a lot about Mr. Perry, who is the head statistician at the department.
We had 2 outings. We went to change all the names on the PCs in the department to make it easier to notify them, or if they have a problem on the network, we could understand who it is and where to go. I learned about the different roles in my degree. A lot of jobs I didn't know I could have done, I could do now, so it helped me, navigate a little better career-wise.
My experience when meeting the Chief Secretary, it was pretty insightful. I major in linguistics and education, and he is a fellow linguist himself. So us sharing that commonality was very intriguing and interesting to hear his thoughts as well as his experience in becoming a linguist. He was very intelligent in his delivery, and he was also pretty interested in getting to know the interns on a more personal level.
We thank all the members and staff of the Office of the Chief Secretary and by extension the Tobago House of Assembly for sharing this wonderful experience with us. Team OCS, one family, one love. I am Kianda Orr, OCS Summer Intern for Let's Talk Tobago.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates. Na 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 na. Good morning, Tobago. Na 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 na. Wake up with Candace and Denise.
Up to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds.
The news in 90 seconds is brought to you by Flow, working for you on Tobago's newest fiber network.
The MVM Plandedora completed its inaugural voyage to Tobago successfully. It set sail at 3 p.m. yesterday and reached Scarborough Port at approximately 1 a.m. today. On board the MVM Plandedora were a total of 22 vehicles, which included 9 vans, 12 trucks, and 1 truck with a trailer. Furthermore, the vessel carried a 20-foot flatbed and 6 containers. Even after the vessel had safely docked, it took approximately an hour before vehicles were allowed to disembark, with a few minor challenges involving the ramp. Subsequently, the MVM Plandedora was loaded with another batch of trucks and additional cargo destined for Port of Spain, departing at 4 a.m. Meanwhile, 1 man is listed in critical but stable condition after sustaining gunshot wounds. At around 11:15 p.m. on Monday in Signal Hill, a 23-year-old resident, Brad Smith, was found with gunshot wounds across his body. His brother, alerted by the gunshots, and discovered Smith injured and called for help. Smith was rushed to the Scarborough General Hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery for wounds on his right leg, left hand, and stomach. Inspector Bacchus of the CID and members of the Divisional Task Force visited the scene as part of the ongoing investigation. And finally, Stolen Productions Limited, SPL Pageants, firmly supports Milady Matarano, the winner of Miss Grand TNT 2023. SPL considers Matareno, a Venezuelan resident in Trinidad and Tobago, a shining example of the Trinbagonian spirit. In a statement, they said she meets the criteria for representing the country in the Miss Grand International competition in Vietnam on October 25th. Kerry Godderhan, SPL's head of marketing and public relations, shared that Matareno is undergoing preparations for the international contest. While addressing concerns about her nationality, SPL Pageants emphasized Matareno's eligibility for Miss Grand International franchise criteria and praised her as a representative of Trinidad and Tobago's diverse culture. And that concludes your news in 90 seconds.
Tobago, after freeness is more speed and better TV. Get a free Samsung smartphone and free installation, plus 200 megabits per second, Paramount Plus, and more for only $299 with a select 200 plan from Flow. Visit online at discoverflow.co today.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, well, as you said, we had quite a lot of activity happening last night into this morning with the arrival of the MVM Plandedora. You know, the truckers there, the businessmen, they're just looking on. I mean, they, like everybody else, just want things to go back to normal. So we're hoping that this works just for the interim and that interim period does not last very long. I guess that's the impression that we're getting from everybody that's there on the scene. In the meantime, food security for Tobago continues to be a concern here on the island. And TADCO, the Tobago Agro Development Company, has been tasked with the responsibility of seeing what they can do to improve food security in Tobago. And they have some good news, and that's in regard to what's been happening with the chicken. So I don't know if you've been seeing those ads that's been circulating on social media about, you know, where you could get 4 whole chickens for $120 and so on. So, to speak to us a little bit on that initiative and how did it go, and I mean, as we're trying to figure out this whole thing, we are being joined by Mr. Ricardo Alfred, who is the chairman of TADCO. So, a special good morning and welcome to you this morning, Mr. Alfred. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm great. And good morning to Tobago and all listeners here.
All right, great. So, well, we're talking this morning especially about that poultry initiative. I think it was the last year.
September 9th.
Yes, you would have engaged a few farmers, given them chickens and so on, and the technical support to engage in poultry farming. And we saw the fruits of that labor this past couple of weeks.
Yeah, so what had happened? September 9th, to be exactly, last year, we would have embarked on a program where it was a poultry initiative, where we would have started with just only 500 chicken. And to our end result that we had over 50,000 plus chickens in our storage. We were able to actually provide a sustainable product, which is the chicken right here in Tobago, from the Tobago farmers to various persons. With the different sales and marketing structures that we are putting in place in terms of getting persons to TADCO and recognizing the brand that we have, which is TADCO. We actually were approached by several persons, which included a local fast food outlet, which was able to supply chicken to their fast food outlet and Tobagonians throughout the island. So we are definitely going to be continuing with the sale. And I definitely would like to thank all of the persons from Tobago and otherwise for visiting TADCO and purchasing all of the different meats and stuff that we have on the island. The poultry project definitely was a very good strategic move, especially what is happening with the Cabo Star. In the advent that the trucks can't come, they are able still to provide a sustainable product right here in Tobago. So we are quite pleased with that.
So how much chicken did we get sold over the past couple of weeks?
Well, I'm definitely going to have something published at the end of this month so that persons will definitely have where we started and how much was sold, and you will have all the difference. So it will be done properly and it will be published for everyone to see. As a result of this, we also had the Capital of Paradise, which is just over 1 year in operation. We definitely have a surplus of fish and stuff on the compound. The Capital of Paradise currently is out at sea. They are now embarking on catching some very needed fish, which is definitely needed for the foreign exchange and the foreign markets outside there. So I would say with these projects that we are doing, we're doing it sector by sector. So we dealt with the fishing aspect, which was through the Capital of Paradise, the poultry into the livestock. We are currently doing more training. So you have, right now, we did some training with some sheep and goat farmers in terms of training them how to slaughter their own animals manually. Between today and tomorrow, they are going to be trained as well in a master butcher course, which is in a collaboration with National Flour Mills, in terms of teaching them how to prepare specialty cuts that they can now provide a product right here into the supermarkets, into the restaurants. So they were trained first how to kill their animals. They were trained how to identify diseases and stuff through the various vet. I would want to really thank the division for this collaboration with the veterinary services in terms of assisting the staff at the abattoir, the marketing staff, and the entire division as well. All this could not really be done if we didn't have the help of the secretary as well, the secretary Natisha Charles Panton, for really assisting and pushing these projects forward in terms of getting it all of the success that it's having. So we are going to be having a Lamb Fest very soon. This Lamb Fest definitely will engage the Tobago farmers in terms of producing a different specialty of different lambs that they're going to be doing. We're going to be having, so I'm appealing to persons, come out and see what we are doing. The aim of this really is to build capacity right here on the island. I know a lot of talk is happening with this Cabo Star and the vessel coming between Trinidad and Tobago. For me personally, now is the time that we need to have a conversation in terms of creating a CARICOM supply chain. We already have several CARICOM companies doing shipping throughout the island. Is a conversation needs to happen as relates to getting Tobago on that route so that when they go up the islands, there's no cargo really that needs to come to Tobago on a truck. All of the CARICOM islands are supplied by various companies through bulk packing and stuff like that. So we need to have the conversation now through the private sector of getting Tobago on the road. That would now engage regional trade and create a CARICOM supply chain, if you want to call it, where goods from elsewhere can come directly here and you can have that trade going on. Persons can now supply some of these Grenada, which is right there, and St. Vincent and all these different things. So we need to really start this conversation. I mean, just imagine persons saying that Tobago have no bread. I mean, it's quite interesting that persons are I mean, if that was the case, we need to really do some serious reflection.
Well, certainly. I mean, we have quite a lot of bakeries on the island, but then it also goes back to the question of what's the capacity of these bakeries. And then, of course, we need the flour. And I don't know if the flour is not coming up to Tobago. I think these were the concerns that were expressed. If the flour is not coming or the other raw materials is not coming, we still have a challenge. But I mean, going back to how we started in terms of talking about the chicken and the different meats, it seems as though tadco is on its way to making sure where meat is concerned, we could, in a sense, sustain ourselves.
Right, and that is the essence. So the essence behind it, again, is to really build this sector by sector. If any strategic plan, and I keep saying, will take at least 3 to 5 years before it is fully operational. I think that we are on that path. I want to really congratulate the 60-plus farmers who were definitely in the program. They would have learned a lot. We are going to be starting back the project very soon. We just have to streamline some items that we would have observed from the program. But all in all, it was a great program. I do really want to thank all of the Tobagonians for really assisting tadco and to let them know that we are here for them and we need their continued support. We are going to be doing more projects very soon. We now venture into the livestock part, which is the animals, the goat and sheep, and we are, there's more that is definitely going to be coming from that.
No, so are we going to see an increase of farmers to be involved in the program as well?
Right. So what we did with the poultry, we had embarked on a lot of training. So now we have to do some more training with the sheep and the goat farmers. We are not saying that they don't know what they are doing. But we just need to really streamline them in terms of everybody maintaining a certain standard so that we can have one person producing the same standard throughout. And that is what is needed, really. So there is going to be a lot more training. As I said, there's a training today and tomorrow as relates to the master butcher training in terms of persons doing specialty cuts into ribs and all these different things that the restaurants and persons in their home might even want. So we're going to be having more training. Training is key.
Certainly.
Is key. So there's going to be a lot of that. And sector by sector, we're definitely going to be building it out while building the capacity of the local persons right here.
And how would this all fit into the mega farm initiative that has been spoken about?
Right. So with this type of initiative, you definitely will have some persons doing better than some. And those persons, we definitely will have to have them separated from others and push them in a much larger capacity because there are some farmers who have it as a full-time job. And these are the persons that we definitely would want to push in a much bigger capacity that they could definitely produce more. The aim of it really is to supply 60,000 persons with the possibility of doing regional trade. With the capital of Paradise, we are able to do that. Let's just say right now, if there was our neighbor Grenada would have had an emergency, I can safely say that Tobago could now assist them in providing some food items to provide some sort of relief. We can now add to that because we have the vessel.
Yes.
And
so it's easy to go across.
It's easy to go across. So we can, without the help of the central government, we can definitely, and this is where we need to be really in terms of assisting our neighbors regionally and providing that trade and that regional trade. That's why the CARICOM supply chain is very crucial. And this is the kind of conversations that we need to be having. We have a lot of talent here that can definitely assist persons up the islands and vice versa. Yeah.
Now, as you rightfully mentioned, to fully benefit from these initiatives that you've begun with, it might take about 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
But what is the goal or what is the picture in 3 to 5 years that you would like to see in terms of food security for Tobago? Is it that we are aiming to produce every single thing that we consume, or is it that there's only certain things that we're going to focus on to make sure that at least we can sustain ourselves in those areas?
Yes, so as a developing island, we have to be able to feed ourselves. If you cannot feed yourself, you are basically dependent on what the different sectors will have. Meaning, what is happening right now with the replacement vessel. Tobago for me is a love. I mean, I have been fortunate enough to travel the world and work with many different nationalities, many different countries, and I am very pleased in where Tobago is going right now. I'm happy that the direction in which tadco is going in terms of providing a sustainable product. Right now we have a lot of chicken parts, guys. Come on down. We still have the sale going on, and the aim of this really is to get persons interested. So there may be some entrepreneurs who may want to take the same chicken that we are selling and provide a further value to it, maybe in chicken nuggets or pre-fried goods that could just be popped in the oven. This is the kind of projects that we definitely have to do. The D in development stands for, for tadco, the D stands for development, which is definitely aim of developing the agro-processors and the farmers. So we are very geared. From the board perspective, I'm quite happy with all of the board members. I want to really recognize all of the members because they have been working very hard actually to trying to get all of the different projects on stream and trying to really assist persons right now. We are definitely, you had mentioned flour. There is going to be some more conversations related to flour. We are getting there. We just have to streamline some finances and stuff to get these flour production up and running, which would definitely, in the near future, persons will not say there's no bread in Tobago. So,
and of course, that would also depend on the cassava production and all the other root crops that we need to make the flour.
Right. So that's why the supply chain, because all of the majority of the ground provision coming to Trinidad and Tobago comes out of St. Vincent.
So not even from Trinidad?
St. Vincent supplies a lot of the ground provision in Trinidad and Tobago. So having that supply chain to surplus, to add it to what we have, we definitely assist persons. Again, we're talking about a 3 to 5 year plan by getting Tobago ready in terms of having all of the raw material ready. But in the meanwhile, we definitely can have some trading happening.
All right, great. Yes. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Alfred, for being on with us and for giving us an idea of what's been happening with tadco and some wins that we are having, even at this time where we are a bit challenged for food on other products here on the island. And maybe soon we might be able to see some local bacon and so on.
Well, the possibility exists. We are in conversation with some persons who would want us to supply them with pork so that they could make a certain type of local sausage and stuff like that. But all that is in train, so you're going to be seeing more of these type of stuff. So again, it's sector by sector by making Tobago better, really.
And that will be nice in time for Christmas. All right, I want to thank you again, Mr. Alfred. And viewers, please don't go anywhere because we have a lot more coming up for you after the break.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy filled.
Summerama, real steam for the summer standard. Is a dream for the summer. Dreamy, steamy, standard. What you have? What you have? All the best deals, no drama. Standard be beat like a hammer. Go tell your friend, tell your papa, tell your mama. We got more, we got more. Standards are what is searching for. Quality brand, discounts galore. New things for the summer, online in store. Summertime is here, so make the most out of it at Standard. Never beaten on quality and price. It not.
Tapicum. Welcome to the future. The only card you will need in a new world. Digital business cards. Safe, hassle-free. The future is here. Tapicom. New generation digital transfer. Digital time clock cards. Digital attendance cards. Air tags. Customized designs. Digital clothing tags. Digital pet tags. Tapicom. The future is here. Contact us today.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates. Na 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 na. Good morning, Tobago. Na 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 na. Wake up with Candace and Denicia. Let's go.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are continuing our conversations this morning with the chairman of Tobago SilverNet. And of course, you know that as the body that's been given quite a lot of comments within our space over the last few years and trying to raise the level of civic discussion within the Tobago space. And so we're being joined by Mr. Rodney Pigott. And a special good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, Candace. I really love the way you introduced SilverNet. You know what I mean? It seems as though you should come and join us, Candace. We need you to join us. You really get it. You get it.
Well, yes. So, you know, one of the things that's been surrounding the conversation in Tobago is just that our political state right now. We have a lot of adversary relations happening, whether it's with the Chief Secretary and the Prime Minister, the Chief Secretary and Mr. Watson Duke, and all around, even with the Minority Council, just quite a lot of discord. And we saw on Monday the Chief Secretary responding to the speech from the President when she opened the Parliament on Monday, and saying that, you know, he was disappointed that autonomy for Tobago was not mentioned on that list of things that she hopes that the Parliament would focus on for this next year. What is your perspective on that, and, you know, the need for us to really revamp that talk about autonomy?
Well, I absolutely agree with that. I agree with him on that the autonomy issue ought to have been front and center, you know, at least mentioned by the President to send that signal that this is something that's of importance to the nation, right? Because autonomy for Tobago is not just to help Tobago, it will also help the nation of Trinidad and Tobago, were Tobago to be put in a position where it becomes much more productive than it is now. That means it can now put more monies into the coffers of the nation, which will then be able to help everybody else in the nation. So for Tobago to become more productive, to put more monies into the coffers, to contribute to the stabilization of the country, the growth of the nation as a whole, why would anyone want to stymie that? So that should be something that's of relative importance. What I also liked about I didn't hear the entire speech from the President, but the part that I heard that I really liked is that she pointed out to the members of Parliament that they ought to be working together, that they need to put aside party politics. Now, to me, that's a strong signal. Because, as you know, that has been Tobago SilverNet's message from the very beginning, is that the way in which we practice party politics, it divides the people, and it keeps the people divided well after the election is over.
But that also raises the question, do you think that we are mature enough as a people, as politicians, to put our party politics aside and work together for the greater good?
I think we have the capacity to do it. We just need the incentives. We need the push to stimulate that impetus. And that has to come from the people. So this is why SilverNet has been focused on stimulating the awareness of the people, to kind of jerk the people out of that kind of trance-like state they're in, that it is the people that we hire, the people that we elect to go into office and mind our business, that they're the ones with the power, and we need to kowtow and bow down to them. That is not the way it works. The people have the power, and the people have elected these officials to go into office and mind our business. So they are actually the servants of the people, not the other way around. And because the THA is such a large employer of the people, and people may be afraid of victimization and things of that nature, the people have been put in a position to not use their power. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
They're put in a position to become very sheepish and to follow and to look for the signals from the politicians that tells them when to think and how to think and so forth. And that is completely backwards. The people have to drive the conversation to the politicians, and the people have to insist to the politicians that, look, campaigning is over, right? And let's put aside this party politics, and you all are supposed to have gone into that office and function as Tobagonians, putting Tobago first, because on the party trail, on the campaign trail, it was people before party. So now that you guys are in office, it must remain people before party.
So then how now do you put this whole situation with Mr. Duke extending this olive branch, if you will, to the Chief Secretary after all that has been said and done over the past year?
Well, as you know, CivilNet did not take a position on that, right? We declined to comment. We did not come together in consensus in a comment. We felt that it's something that, well, let's just wait and let the other shoe fall and see what happens from that. But as a person, as Rodney Piggott, the cultural activist, my say on that is that it is of little consequence to the people. This is a matter between those two men, right? There's a history that occurred between them. The public is not privy to what exactly transpired between them. Certain persons who were in the organization may be privy to what happened, but that's not general knowledge to the people as to what really happened, what occurred between these two men. So this is something that they must work out between themselves, and it's not something that should be advanced to the front burner of the people's interest. What should be on the front burner of the people's interest is our drive towards autonomy, because that is something that is going to alleviate a lot of the current drama and stagnation and growth that we see on the island. You see problems with the air bridge, the sea bridge, our low productivity, our infrastructure problems, right? I was just coming here to today, Candice, and there's a road, it's like the Patience Hill, Patience Hill Road, and I'm telling you, there is a pothole in the middle of the drive zone, right? And when rain falls and that hole fills up and it's nighttime, you cannot see that pothole. And I'm telling you, this is not a little, you know, I'm talking something, if your car drops down in that, someone is getting hurt. Forget the car getting mashed up. Someone is getting hurt, especially because it's a narrow road. There is no room for any of the vehicles to veer to the left or to the right. There's absolutely no room at all whatsoever. So if someone's driving along those roads, and you know how we drive here, Candice, people are driving those roads like at 80 kilometers per hour. You understand? And someone drops in that pothole, Candice, and there's a car coming in the other direction, someone is getting hurt. Are we waiting for something like that to happen before these things are addressed? So these are the things that needs to be put on the front burner, not Duke stretching out an olive branch to Mr. Farley. That has been done before, you see. Yeah. And as I said to young people in my response to Newsday, when elephants fight, it is the grass that gets trampled. It's the grass that gets mashed up. So if one of those elephants should take it upon themselves to now want to extend an olive branch to the other elephant, I think it should be to the grass that they need to extend the olive branch to and apologize to the grass. So if there's any apologies that need to be made, it is to the people, the district that this gentleman represents, to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, especially Tobago, that these people represent, not necessarily, you know, to each other. Apologize to the people. It's the people that were led astray It's a people that were kept in the dark on a lot of things. So it is a people that needs to be brought in and say, look, Tobago, I erred, I apologize, and let's move on from there. And then let the chips fall where they may between these two gentlemen.
Now, in terms of even crime and crime autonomy and so on for Tobago, what do you think, or how do you think that this conversation should be in terms of making sure that we can address these problems that are arising? Because unfortunately, there are some gun-related crimes, and I know the police tried. I would like to say that we're not quite as bad as previous years and so on, but it's still quite concerning what's been happening in Tobago over the past year. But we in Tobago, the THA does not have control over security, national security. So how should we even treat with something like that?
It's going to take, again, the people have to get involved. Everything points to civil society, the people. Crime is a symptom. It's symptomatic. It is not a cause. Something is wrong in our society, right, that is causing mostly our young people to go in the direction of using violence in order to settle their beefs, right? And when you get to that point where you have young people reaching for the gun, reaching for the cutlass, not taking into consideration the life that they are about to impact, that's a situation that tends to grow. It's like a cancer, and that tends to grow. And if it's not paid attention to on the civil society end, where people are looking at that and say, well, listen, what's going on? We cannot afford to let this go on. Let's get this thing under control, right? So when you drive along and you look over and you see 7, 8, 9 young men standing on the corner, just smoking and drinking, we ignore that. We think it's absolutely nothing. But those are lives, Candace, that are literally wasting away. And because they have nothing productive to do, or they're not taking any opportunities to do anything productive, then what is left available for them to do is the criminal activity, because that is going to be available. That's available in a large quantity in Trinidad, and it is going to find its way over the waters into Tobago. And the problem with it coming into Tobago is that Tobago will not be able to afford to have the type of crime that is occurring in Trinidad, where you have 11 murders in one weekend. And Candace, not an eyelashes bash. No one raises an eye on that. It's becoming normalized right here in Tobago. A 17-year-old girl, gets killed, gets murdered by a gun. And what's the important news? Duke stretched out an olive branch to fire. No, that is something that should be on the front pages, on the front burner, on all the talk shows. We should be looking at that situation and asking, why did this happen? How did this happen? What was going on in that young man's head that caused him to take out a gun in the middle of a club and shoot someone? What happened here? Why is a 17-year-old girl in an establishment at that hour that sells alcohol? What happened here? What failed? We're not looking at those issues. We're going to let that go by until the next one happens.
And why do you think our society is not treating with those issues?
One of the main problems, and again, the president spoke to it, the society's, Candace, we have to admit, is woefully divided and over-politicized. So that politics, which is simply one area of a people's activity, it is not the total activity of a people. It is simply one area of a people's culture. A people's culture is made up of several areas of people's activity. Politics is simply one of them. Then you have your spirituality or religion, you have your education, you have your justice system, you have your art and entertainment and so forth. So all of those make up a people's culture. Politics is too dominant in our atmosphere, and it is party politics that dominates our atmosphere. And party politics keeps the people's attention divided and focused on political drama and political commerce. You see, so that the people are not taking the opportunity to think of anything else except what is going on in the political arena. That should not be the focus on a day-to-day basis. Politics should be something in the back seat where our elected officials are doing their job and the civil society is moving along in other arenas. We should be focused on our health, our children's education. There are things coming down the education pike that is already taking place in other places like Florida and so forth, and it's slowly going to make its way into the Trinidad and Tobago spaces, where they're looking to bring a certain type of curriculum into our schools that people should be asking questions on. Is this something we want introduced to our children at this age? No one's thinking about that. We're simply thinking about politics and the political drama that is unfolding, because we're not really doing politics. We're doing political dramas on a day-to-day basis. And so the emotions of the people go up and down based on the political dramas.
So, Mr. Pigott, as we wrap up this conversation, I just want to give you a minute just to speak to Tobago and to just basically tell them, you know, about how we really need to treat with our situation here in Tobago in terms of being able to take the island forward and being able to maturely handle these issues that we are plagued with.
We have to get serious. We have to look to each other. We have to remember that Tobagonians were the class of people that everyone wanted working for them. It was said, if you have a Tobagonian working for you, you had top quality customer service, integrity in work, workmanship. We have to remember that that's what's in our genes. We have to remember that we are a lend-hand people. We looked out for each other. We took each other's concerns to heart. We're not a selfish people. We're not a self-centered people only looking out for our own achievements. We're not a people that ought to be divided into parties like this and going at each other's throats. We should be able to put our party politics aside once election is over. It's a good contest, just like two men in a boxing ring. But once you come out of that ring, you should be able to go off and have a beer somewhere. And Tobagonians need to put aside their party politics at this time and focus on the success of Tobago, focus on Tobago driving towards its autonomy, take the survey that CivilNet has put out there to learn what Tobagonians are thinking about the survey. It can be found on the page, the Facebook page of Tobago CivilNet. Please go there and take that survey. And as far as crime is concerned, let's begin to look out for each other the way we used to look out for each other back in the day.
Certainly.
Watch each other's back out there. All right?
I want to thank you so much, Mr. Pigott, for being on with us and having this conversation. Certainly an insightful one, and one that I hope that a lot of people can take some lessons from.
Thank you, Candace. All
right, viewers, don't go anywhere because we have quite a bit more coming up for you on GMT. So see you after the break.
The energy fill the skies. I say thanks for
Looking for a place for your loved ones? Heavenly Care welcomes you. Located at Northside Road opposite Massey Motors, we offer a variety of services. These include doctor visitations, social activities, geriatric care, and much more. Contact us at 277-9595 or visit us at Northside Road opposite Massey Motors. At Heavenly Care, compassion is at the heart of all care.
Tobago updates. Na, 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 na. Good morning, Tobago. Na, 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 na. Wake up with Candace and Denasia.
Let's go, go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, viewers. Now, another thing that's within our space that we don't ever give, I won't say we don't ever, but we don't give enough attention to, it's what's happening on our coral reefs or in our shorelines around. And there's quite a lot happening, quite a lot not good happening with the effects of climate change and pollution, a whole lot of other things. And to just give us a perspective on that, we are going to be speaking with Dr. Anjani Ganesh, who is a research officer of the Coral Reef Ecology in Coral Reef Ecology Department of the Institute of Marine Affairs. So a special good morning and welcome to you, Dr. Ganesh.
Good morning, Candace. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can. So the IMA has been engaged over the past couple of years in what is called the Marin Tobago project. It's a project that, well, actually, I'll give you a chance to explain a little bit about what the project is aimed at before we get into some more conversations about it.
Thanks. So Marin Tobago, or the Marine Resilience Initiative Tobago, was a pilot project. It was an 18-month pilot project where we were, well, considering the future of uncertainty as it relates to climate change. You know, our reefs are going to be more prone to coral bleaching, more storm events, more disease outbreaks. So we thought we needed to start assessing the feasibility of, you know, resilience-based management and restoration, and how can that be applied to Tobago. So the last 18 months was essentially starting that groundwork of understanding and research to determine, you know, if we were to do restoration, what would that look like in Tobago and how should we go about it?
Mm-hmm. And there's quite a lot that you guys formed because you focus on coral reefs as well as seagrass beds. I want to focus on coral reefs first because that's one thing that we are all familiar with. And there were 5 areas of study which you guys engaged in, and that was at Buku Reef, Flying Reef, Mount Irvin, Boobsey Island in Charlottesville, and on Speyside, the Angel
Reef.
Right.
Yep.
And what you guys found was that some of the corals are not quite as resilient as you might hope.
Exactly. So what we tried to do is we assess their current state of health, and then we assess it in a framework of resilience, meaning how well it will do in terms of future disturbances, right? And we use a lot of what we say ecological indicators to determine that. So we look at things like hard coral cover, coral diversity, if there's a lot of disease on the reef, if there are a lot of new coral recruits or baby corals that would then contribute to future populations. And what we found was that there were a lot of, especially Flying Reef along the south coast, did not perform very well. We ranked the sites, so it was the lowest ranking in terms of resilience. However, there were sites that can fare better, and we can actually apply restoration and get them to a good, healthy standard to be able to be more resilient to things like climate change. And those sites would have been Mount Irvin Reef and Boobsey Island, and potentially even Buko in the marine park.
Mm-hmm. And then one of the positive things that you noticed was there was some coral spawning on the reef. And could you just give our viewers a little bit of an understanding of what coral spawning is and what that means for our reefs?
Yes. So one of the that was the second objective, was that if we were to do restoration, we wanted to do a restoration strategy that focused on building genetic diversity or variability in the current populations. And to do that, we had to focus on the sexual reproduction of corals, which means that each new young would be slightly different and hopefully would be able to fare better against any kind of disturbance. And so to do that, we were looking at larval propagation strategies. And the first step in that was understanding when our corals spawn. So coral spawning is essentially when the corals release their gametes, so their sperm and eggs, so that they mix in the water column, and there's fertilization in the water column so that new corals form and then they settle on the reef. This happens at a specific season in the year. So in the Caribbean, a coral starts spawning, depending on the species, from anywhere between May till October. And then you have certain species that peak in their coral spawning. What was exciting for us was that we never really monitored coral spawning in that detail in Trinidad and Tobago. So we worked with our colleagues from SECOR to sort of monitor between July and October consecutively to see, when did they spawn, what species were commonly spawning. And so a lot of that would guide what we decide to do or what species we would focus on when it came to that form of restoration. It was really exciting because even for us, I've never really experienced spawning to that degree, and we were able to get volunteers out to see it with us. So
certainly, but how can this add to our resilience efforts? And I want you to talk to that in light of all the other challenges that we're facing there in terms of pollution, sediment, rising sea temperatures, the risks of coral bleaching. How does that fare against those factors?
Yeah, so restoration doesn't work outside of management, right? And so I think one of the biggest take-homes leading out to the pilot is that we need to work as much on management, and specifically management that focuses on climate adaptation, right? So in the next phase, we're trying to build a framework where restoration works within that pathway of decision making, of the type of management, and that all depends on our vision of how we want our coral reefs to fare and how we want to continue to benefit in terms of livelihoods and whatnot. So essentially, coral reefs are one of the most vulnerable ecosystems on the planet, and it is a hard task. And so we hope that we could do a lot more, not just in maximizing, hey, if we were to do restoration in this part, on this reef, it'll be more likely to survive better than another one. We also have to manage activities of those reefs as well. So if there was to be any restoration activity, we would have to work with community. We'll have to work with reducing land-based sources of pollution, which is a major threat to coral reefs, especially in Tobago, and also work on things like fisheries management that will go along with reef health, and it also go along with the health of fisheries as well.
And as we're speaking a bit about pollution, us in here in Tobago, sometimes we don't think about what happens to the water that we let off into our drains. And I wanted to take us through that and explain exactly what are you noticing on the reefs, especially in those areas where the water courses directly enter the beaches and so on, and just the variation in the coral health.
Yeah. So any kind of runoff from all our drains, unfortunately, lead to our ocean. So we have issues with our sewage management, but also with our grey water, which is our household detergents, the runoff from our laundry, our sinks. A lot of that, unfortunately, still gets into our drains, and that flushes directly into the ocean. Those detergents have chemicals like reactive phosphates and nitrogen, which encourages blooming of algae, but also encourages blooming of microbes. And those microbes are what causes diseases in corals. So imagine when it's raining and your mother tells you shouldn't bathe in the muddy water, or you shouldn't go in the sea because it's all dirty. It's for similar reasons. We don't want to get a disease, and we don't want to be, impacted by the waste, but the corals can't move. So they do get exposed to that high level of microbes. And then when you have the combination of a warming planet, the warmer waters plus the nutrients results in significant blooms of microorganisms and algae. With respect to Tobago, we realize that sediment is a huge issue. So when you think about land clearing activities, when we don't think about when we should do land clearing activities and what kind of buffers we should have, right? So ideally avoid clearing land in the rainy season where the runoff of the topsoil will be the highest. So these are the issues that we need to actually nail down and strategize. How can we improve it? We don't want to prevent development. We need it to align with our marine resources and our livelihoods.
And if we don't do anything soon enough, what are the projections? If things continue as it is, what are the projections and what's the impact on our lives?
So the projections are dire, although we need to have better models for our specific region and our islands. So one of the projections that we've been looking at, the worst case scenario, which is not exactly the projection we're on, but essentially there will be a point where we would experience severe coral bleaching so frequently that the corals would not be able to recover. So imagine if you get a bleaching every 1 or 2 years, corals are not going to be able to reproduce properly. They're not going to have viable young, and that would just trigger a downward spiral in terms of coral populations. And what that means for us is that we benefit. So corals house the highest biodiversity in the oceans, and we, being in the Caribbean and Tobago, we are lined by coral reefs, and a lot of our livelihoods are fishing activities. It's a major food source. It's a major form of recreation for us. We love to go, whether it is just beach bathing or snorkeling. It is a fundamental part of our culture. And I think we need to be able to connect the dots full circle to understand, if we were to continue to benefit from it, we have to work to conserve it.
Certainly. And, what about in terms of if we lose the coral reefs? Will we still be able to enjoy the clear beaches that we...
The reef, that barrier reef is no longer going to be able to provide that sheltered area for that lagoon. And so you have concerns in terms of our tourism, in terms of our well-being and our recreation.
Mm-hmm. So what's the future of the Marin Tobago project? What's going to be happening in the next few years?
So fortunately, we managed to get... to maintain our partnership with BP, and we have funding for the next 5 years to be able to actually start implementing different strategies. So we have 3 main pillars of activities. The first one is building ocean sustainability, and that is actually working to create a resilience network for Tobago, which we will discuss with partners, THA, persons that work in the marine environment, to come up with a vision of what management in Tobago looks like. It must be informed and it must be enacted by the people that work in the marine environment, including IMA. So it's just sort of trying to come up with a vision and overcoming the major challenges to management, whether it is building capacity in terms of enforcement, whether it is an education or an understanding. It all depends on where we see the challenges or where the stakeholders see the challenges. And we're trying to overcome those major, prioritize and overcome them one by one through the next 5 years. The second pillar focuses on actually establishing some restoration in coral reefs in Tobago. And based on the pilot, we have sites that we will work with our international partners, Civic, to restore some coral species on sites that we deem would have better success. And then the third pillar is essentially working on building ocean stewardship. So building education and awareness of our ocean backyards, and just sort of highlighting, as I said, creating that full circle of understanding of how we benefit and how we should conserve so that we can sustain our benefits into the future. So they include developing classroom tools, because I think understanding your marine environment from childhood is key.
Yeah.
And there is a major focus to do that.
Certainly. All right, so Dr. Ganesh, we are almost we're pretty much at the end of our conversation this morning. I want to thank you so much for being on, for sharing this perspective. But before you go, I just want you to just take a minute just to speak to Tobago about, just why we really need to be paying closer attention to what's really going on, and what we can do just to make it better.
Yes, I think essentially coral reefs in a lot of our marine ecosystems are out of sight and out of mind. So the first step is basically closing that gap. And I would encourage Tobagoans, Trinis to get to learn their environment, to experience their environment a bit more, learn how to swim, learn how to snorkel, start seeing what is under there and start understanding, because, especially with climate change, things are happening more rapidly, especially with the coral reefs and this degradation. So there's an urgent need to act. And it all comes down to simple action, and from what you do in your homes, what you do on the beaches, to be responsible with your waste. Waste management is a critical key, but we also need to advocate as community members for our government to do more in terms of waste management, in terms of marine management, because we know that we're so dependent on our environment. So advocate more, be ocean stewards, and then learn to explore your marine environments.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Ganesh. It was such a pleasure speaking with you this morning. And we are definitely looking forward to seeing the success of your research. And hopefully we could find a good resilience mechanism for both coral reefs. And while we didn't touch on the seagrass, which is also important, but that could be a conversation for another day. So thank you so much.
Definitely. Thanks, Candace, for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, great. Well, viewers, I want to thank you so much for being on with us, for sticking with us throughout the whole program for this morning. It was certainly a pleasure. So I just hope you have a safe and wonderful day, and we would see you again tomorrow. But don't forget, we have brunch coming up at 10 with Janelle. So you're going to want to lock on for that and see what she has for a taste of Tobago. So don't get it. So see you then.
We are people in the sun.